Yes, sir. What's going on, y'all? Peace to the gods. I'm about to get started. Because even if they don't show up, I just keep this and reload it. I'm reloaded. All right, let me get some real ones in. Get some real ones in the building. Mhm. Yeah, I'm definitely about to get it in. Ain't gonna wait too much longer. Peace to the gods. Y'all share this. I've always heard a lot about W.E.B. Du Bois. And people always say a lot of bad things about him. So we're gonna do the research. And we ain't just checking him out, but we checking out his material. See if his material is of no use. Because I think people don't like that other people got a difference of opinions in certain areas, but it's minute compared to that we all saying the same thing. Yes, sir. Peace to the daughter of Job. All right, I'm finna get it in. All right. Okay. Y'all on point. Well, let's get right with it. Since we talking about W.E.B. Du Bois and his material, what he brought to the table. Right here, he's speaking on the black explorers and how the Negro helped in the discovery of America and gave his ancient customs to the land. Garcia de Montalvo published in 1510 a Spanish romance which said, "Know ye that on the right hand of the Indies there is an island called California." This is for educational purposes only. You know, if it's entertaining, I'm also obliging that this could be entertainment purposes. But that's all. That is it. That's all. Education and entertainment purposes only. So, Garcia de Montalvo published in 1510 a Spanish romance which said, "Know ye that on the right hand of the Indies there is an island called California, very near the terrestrial paradise, which is peopled with black women, without any men among them, because they were accustomed to live after the fashion of the Amazons. They were of strong and hardy bodies, of ardent courage, and of great force." Wakanda forever, huh? Mm. California forever, huh? So the legend that the Negro race had touched America even before the day of Columbus rests upon a certain basis of fact. First, the Negro countenance, clear and unmistakable, occurs repeatedly in Indian carvings, among the relics of the mound builders, and in Mexican temples. Secondly, there are evidences of Negro customs among the Indians. This is W.E.B. Du Bois. I've heard people call him a sellout. You got to make it make sense. I mean, people can have difference of opinions, but for the most part, looks like we're saying the same thing. I think it's trigger words, you know, that people get hung up on. Y'all tap that screen. Help me out. I can't read and tap. Y'all can't tap and read. Yes, sir. Haru already got the book. Already done did a lot of the knowledge. Brother say no, he's no sellout. And so far what we reading, I don't think anybody sees anybody selling out. But secondly, there are evidences of Negro customs among the Indians in their religious worship, and their methods of building defenses, such as the mounds, probably were, and particularly in customs of trade. Columbus said that he had been told of a land southwest of the Cape Verde Islands where the black folk had been trading and had used in their trade the well-known African alloy of gold called guanin. You know, there can be no question whatever as to the reality of the statement in regard to the presence in America of the African pomberos previous to Columbus, because the guani is a Mandingo word and the very alloy is of African origin. In 1501, a law was passed forbidding persons to sell guanin to the Indians. In 1501, a law was passed forbidding persons to sell guanin to the Indians. Who are they trying to prevent from doing that? Of Hispaniola. So, well, I know at one point they offered him a whole bunch of land down in like Guatemala to, basically move all so-called black people, but nobody necessarily wanted to take that, and it seems like we're still here. I think we probably should have took that South American land as part of reparations while it was actually on the table, right? All right, let me turn the page. What am I doing? All right. One second. All right. Like explored. Okay. Bam. Winder thinks the presence of Negroes with their trading masters in America before Columbus is proved by the representation of Negroes in American sculpture and design by the occurrence of a black nation at Darien early in the 16th century, but more specifically by Columbus' emphatic reference to Negro traders from Guinea who trafficked in a gold alloy guanin or precisely the same composition and bearing the same name as frequently referred to by early writers in Africa, right? And thirdly, many of the productions of America, which have hitherto been considered as indigenous and brought into use, especially by the Indians, may easily have been African in origin, right? So that's a lot of, that's a lot of the back and forth science. It's just how it goes. So all of these things were spread in America on the same route, starting with the mingling of Negroes and Indians in the West Indies and coming up through Florida and on to Canada. The Arawak Indians, who especially show the effects of contact with the Negroes and fugitive Negroes, together with Negroid Caribs, migrated northward, and it was they who led Ponce de Leon to search for the fountain Bimini, where old men became young, the fountain of youth. Oviedo says that the sweet potato came with that evil lot of Negroes, and it has taken very well, and it is profitable and good sustenance for the Negroes, of whom there is a greater number than is necessary on account of their rebellions. In the same way, maize and sugar may have been imported from Africa. Further than this, the raising of bread roots, manioc, yam, and sweet potatoes may have come to America from Guinea by way of Brazil. From Brazil, the culture of these crops spread, and many of the words referring to them are of undoubted African origin. Negroes probably reached the eastern part of South America from the West Indies, while others from the same source went. We'll go to the next page. North along the roads marked by the mound builders as far as Canada. The chief cultural influence of the Negro in America was exerted by a Negro colony in Mexico, most likely from Teotihuacan. Like I always say, Teoti. And then you got Akan at the end, which is the literal term for an African. There are Akans, like the rapper we've all seen before called Akon. To Teotihuacan. Like we always say, Wakanda. Wakanda forever. So Teotihuacan and Tuxtla, who may have been instrumental in establishing the city of Mexico. From here, their influence pervaded the neighboring tribes and ultimately, directly or indirectly, reached Peru. The mounds of the mound builders were probably replicas of Negro forts in Africa. That this tendency to build forts and stockades proceeded from the Antilles, the Caribbeans, whence the Arawak had come in the beginning of the 16th century, is proved by the presence of similar works in Cuba. These are found in the most abandoned and least explored part of the island, and there can be little doubt that they were locations of fugitive Negro and Indian stockades, precisely such as were in use in Africa. It is not possible to prove the direct participation of the Negroes in the fortifications of the North American Indians, but as the civilizing influence of the Indians to a great extent proceeded from Cuba over Florida towards the Huron County in the north. The solution of the question of the mound builders is to be looked for in the perpetuation of Arawak or Carib methods acquired from the Negroes, as well attested by Oviedo's complaint in 1503 that the Negroes spoiled the manners of the Indians and transferred to the white traders, and this is in 1503, who not only adopted the methods of the Indians, but frequently lived among the Indians as part of them, especially in Brazil, where we have ample documentary evidence of the fact. All this is prehistoric and in part conjectural, and yet it seems reasonable to oppose that much in custom, trade, and religion has been regarded as characteristic of the American Indian, arose from strong Negro influences of the pre-Columbian period. After the discovery of America by Columbus, many Negroes came with the early explorers. Many of these early black men were civilized Christians and sprung from the large numbers. Okay. After that, for 40 years, explorations rested until 1582, when again the Spaniards entered the territory with all the Spanish explorers in Florida, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and Kansas They were Negro slaves and helpers, but none with the initiative, perseverance, and success of Estevanico. Yeah, everybody know about Estevan the Moor. And the after pioneering that took place in later days in the great western wilderness, the Negro was often present. There was a black man with Lewis and Clark. We all know about Lewis and Clark, but we don't know about Jacob Dodson. This is back in 1804, just like the Haitian Revolution. A free Negro of Washington volunteered to accompany Fremont in his California expedition of 1843. He was among the 25 persons selected by Fremont to accompany him in the discovery of Klamath Lake and also in his ride from Los Angeles to Monterey. Among the early settlers of California coming up from Mexico were many Negroes and mulattoes. William Alexander Leadsorf was the most distinguished Negro pioneer of California, and at one time lived in the largest house in San Francisco. He owned the first steamship sailing in San Francisco Bay. William Alexander Leadsorf, a native of Danish West Indies, son of a Dane by a mulattress who came to the United States as a boy and became a master of vessels sailing between New York and New Orleans. You know, New Orleans got that Creole going on, so he fit right in. Came to California as manager of the Julianne, on which he made later trips to the islands. Yeah, I appreciate you hitting that like. To my brother, I see you, Eric. I appreciate you. All y'all, Haru, all y'all. Hold on, we might answer that question by reading this. Let's get it. We well. All right. The Negro work as a pioneer extends down until our day. The last Commodore, Perry, who discovered the North Pole, said, Matthew A. Henson, my Negro assistant, has been with me in one capacity or another since my second trip to Nicaragua in 1887. I have taken him on each and all of my expeditions, except the first, and also without exception on each of my farthest sledge trips. This position I have given him primarily because of his adaptability and fitness for the work, and secondly, on account of his loyalty. He is a better dog driver and can handle a sledge better than any man living, except some of the best Eskimo hunters themselves. This leaves Henson today as the only living human being who has stood at the North Pole. All right. Yep, the currents of the West African coast can carry one forcefully towards the Gulf of Mexico, South America, and the Caribbean. As noted earlier, there are three of these currents. The Norwegian explorer Thor Heyerdahl had Africans build a papyrus reed boat for him in 1969. He sailed from the Moroccan port of Safi, although there was a fault in the design as compared to those built by the ancient Egyptians, and the rudder broke down. The currents carried the boat all the way to its destination. Y'all wake up. There's a lot of other evidence to support the black presence in America before Columbus, be it linguistic, oceanographic, botanical, skeletal, and so on. Mexicans recognize blacks as the founders of Mesoamerican civilization. According to V. Riva Palacio, it is indistinguishable that in very ancient times before the existence of the Otomies, the Negro race occupied our territory, called Mexico, when the two continents were joined. This race brought its own religious cults and ideals. And this is a quote in J.A. Rogers' Sex and Race, Volume 1, page 270. Let me show y'all. So we're going to talk about Thor Heyerdahl. Yep. What's going on with y'all? 8 Men in a Duck. An Improbable Voyage by Reed Boat to Easter Island. I mean, the thing that makes that ultra impressive is that Easter Island is the most remote island in the world. In the world, it's not near anywhere. There is not near anywhere. It's just as close as it is to America as it is to Asia. It's not close to anywhere. It's the literal middle of nowhere, right? Oh yeah. You can come on up here. You already know. I got KD in the building. Mhm.
What's good, bro?
Yeah, going on.
What's
I
the
got my
topic
boy.
tonight?
I got my boy KD. See, right now, I'm just touching on ancient travel, right? And I'm showing them how number one, the the Reed boat, which this Reed is literally only coming from one place. It's coming from South America, right? So the Reeds, just like we get gopher wood up here in the Gulf,
Mm-hmm.
Florida,
Mm-hmm.
but down there in South America, we get the Reed. So the Reed is how you made these ancient boats that you seen all of the ancients using. Mm? Whether it be
Okay.
whether it be Minoans, Egyptians, the Mesopotamian cultures, and even in the West, what we call in Easter Island. I got the evidence, I got the receipts to show that they even had it sculpted in their caves on the walls, and you know, like
Mm-hmm.
they written it down like all the other ancestors write things down, and it's just showing the same technology. So watch this. Right. He also pointed out several plant species found in both Polynesia and South America. Tomato, sweet potato, buttergold. Okay. Wandering around the desert plaza. Asked Eduardo what he thought of Thor Heyerdahl. Nobody believes him, he replied, with a dismissive wave of his hand. Everybody knows that the Polynesians came from the west. It was a response that has greeted Heyerdahl all his life. But in fact, as I was to discover later, Heyerdahl has never disputed that Polynesia was populated from Asia, only that an earlier wave of migration may also have taken place from the east. In the case of Easter Island, he suggests those early white migrants, perhaps led by Kontiki Varacocha, they wanted to be white so bad. You know how it goes. It was just not not super dark people. So if all of them went jet black, they have enough to claim that. But they were later massacred by Polynesian settlers. This is educational purposes only, of course. And the story is given some credence by local legends of a great battle in which the long ears were vanquished by the short ears. And according to Heyerdahl, it explains the almost exclusively Polynesian genetics of the present day islanders.
What else you got?
Calm down, kid. Hey, this is the Reed boat, which is Ra the second, in which Thor hired all, crossed the Atlantic Ocean, right? Thor called this Reed boat. You know, they never give it any credence. None of this stuff let most people want to tell it. None of this stuff has ever been done until the YT man decided to use, our ancient, same structures that we were capable of using. Whatever we use, canoe, reed boat, none of these things were capable of doing these amazing things until a YT man got the same canoe.
And we
He got
shouldn't
the
be surprised, Morris. We should
same
not
reed
be
boat.
surprised.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just surprised that people literally think like that. Not the people that people lie like that, but that people believe it. People be like, yeah, that was never done until 1920, 1940. I'm like, come on, man. He's using ancient technology, you know?
Especially with the sail. The sail been around for a long, long time.
Yeah. So Thor called his reed boat Ra, after the ancient Egyptian sun god. Thor's first boat was damaged by storms. He built another one, called Ra II. He set out for Morocco in Africa. After 57 days at sea, he reached the West Indies near South America. And once again, Thor has shown that ancient people could have sailed across the world's oceans. Boom. So they can see what it looked like. But Thor's last adventure was in a reed boat called Tigris. He sailed it across the Indian Ocean and landed in the country of Djibouti in Africa. Mm, That's a nice sized boat, ain't
Hey, are they talking about Thor?
it?
The hammer?
No, no.
Oh.
This ain't a myth. This is just a guy of that Danish descent who was named Thor.
Oh, okay.
Thor Heyerdahl. That's a nice looking boat to be built from reed. They made sure it was sturdy.
Yeah, it
Uh,
looks like it's well made.
It's gonna be.
Whatever.
It's gonna
Yeah, who?
float.
Mm-hmm. Looks good.
And you find the best reed boats. They say in Lake Titicaca. Lake Titicaca. They say they even still have the same ancient trade of making these reed boats. They say really nobody else in the world does it, and that's America. Mm, What's the
Makes sense. That's a real gem right there. Yeah, but hey, I gotta drop down. I gotta take care of something real quick. But thanks
yes
for
sir,
having me.
for sure. Thor could land only in Djibouti because the countries near it were troubled by war and hunger. These things made Thor feel sad and angry. He decided to do something to show how upset he was. Thor set fire to the Tigris in Djibouti's harbor. Then he sent a letter to the United Nations to say that all countries of the world should work towards peace. Otherwise, he said, our world would be turned into a sinking ship, just like the Tigris. All right. Thor Heyerdahl spent his life exploring the world's mysteries. He believes the people of the past were explorers too, crossing the seas to find new lands. His adventures have tried to show how much of the world those people might have seen. The boats that Thor Heyerdahl used on his adventures are as famous as he is. The Kon-Tiki and Ra II are kept in a special museum in Oslo, Norway. Mm. So y'all see this. You see the sail on the reed boat. And only these things could only be done by them. You know, it's the same boats that we had, but we couldn't have done this, right? We didn't do this, right? All right, boom. Yep, most definitely. Look like rafts. 'Cause that's all it takes. You know what I'm saying? These these currents gonna take you to a land, guaranteed. When Thor Heyerdahl set out to sail across the Pacific Ocean on a wooden raft, people didn't believe he could do it. But Thor wanted to solve a mystery. Was it possible that many years ago humans traveled the great oceans to seek new land? To find out, Thor had several voyages on boats, made like the ones used by ancient travelers. Soon, his adventures became famous around the world. Well-chosen illustrations and John Mallam's clear, lively text combined to bring the world of Thor Heyerdahl to life. So, this is the front of the book. Yep, the Kon-Tiki. And that's crazy that he put Tiki on there. I guess it looks like a Tiki torch, don't it? And it's crazy that he called it Kon-Tiki and then ended up setting it on fire. Or did he give it the name Kon-Tiki after he set it on fire? Or does it just look like a Tiki torch? Which also gave him the thought to quickly set it on fire. Like, oh yeah, just set it on fire. All right. Thor knew that long ago the people who lived in South America had made rafts of balsa wood. He went to South America and built a big raft from balsa wood, bamboo, reeds, and leaves. He called it Kontiki after the god in Tetua's story. On April 27, 1947, the Kontiki sailed from Peru in South America. On board were Thor and 5 of his friends. Thor used bamboo, left right here. Yep. He used bamboo and balsa wood to build the Kontiki, and many people thought the raft would sink. All right. And high on the southwest cliffside of Orongo, right? Because it's a cave. They call it Lazarus Cave over there in Easter Islands, and they're saying that in the process of turning the stones to other whale carvings, also discovered Heyerdahl subsequently brought many treasures from the caves of Lazarus, right? High on the southwest cliffside of Orongo, wall carvings of Totora or reed boats are discovered, and similar looking reeds are soon found growing profusely on Easter Island. Hmm? They are South American type reeds. On the southwest of the island, at Raraku, a statue was uncovered revealing a large reed vessel with mast on it. Yep, Heyerdahl says to Pacarati brothers to building two reed or pora boats, which they finished and sailed on the Pacific to the amazement of the islanders. The natives had never really seen these large reed boats in movement. Greetings, Rock. In this chapter, Heyerdahl's ingenuity and resourcefulness are demonstrated in the manner in which he wins the confidence and consent of the mayor of Easter Island, the Aku Aku, which he used to win permission to examine Lazarus Cave, was one of a kind of a statue used by sensible natives to warn off evil spirits and otherwise perform for the benefit of his owner. The discovery of the Totora reed boat carvings on the cliffside of Orongo leads Heyerdahl to think that he has discovered further evidence to link the early history of Easter Island with that of Peru. Inasmuch such reeds are native to the South American countryside, tied together into bundles and made into rafts, they are buoyant and sturdy. It is possible that reed ships have been built by early Peruvians to cross the Pacific to Easter Island. These some of these images that was on the Orongo cliffside, the Lazarus caves, the caves of Lazarus on these Easter Islands. Mhm. And they even had an anchor on it, as you can see on Exhibit A at the top. Yeah, it's shaped like a turtle or something, but still that represents an anchor on the boat. All right. Mhm. This is a sculpture. This is a sculpture of the same design of the reed boat. A Totora reed boat with three masts and sails. Woman with fish on back. Sculpture representing a whale with a hut and an oven or umu on its tail. Mhm. Traditional hooks on Easter Island. Right. Stone hooks. Two pieces hooks made of human bone, curved hook shell. Curved shell hook. Yep. I definitely you know, once again prove ancient travel. Of course, including the Americas and all around. We talking about circumnavigating, not just a single continent, circumnavigating the planet. I've showed how it's been done in a canoe. I've showed how it's been done in a reed boat. Like, who else has even done that? I'm just saying we gotta grasp that. When we grasp that, then we know everything is pre-Columbus. Everything is pre-BC, before Christ. All of this is well before. Our abilities were way greater than that for a long time. So, yep. I was just tapping in with the real because I don't see a lot of it, you know what I mean? Gotta be some scholarship. Gotta be some evidence. What are receipts? You know what I mean? Give me the receipts. Let's see if I can find another book right quick. Just to show that I proved that it's been done in a canoe. Just like I just showed how it's been done in a reed boat. $40,000 miles in a canoe. Need I remind you that the Earth is only 24,896 miles around. So 40,000 miles means he took the long way around. He took some twists and turns. He bent a couple corners. 40,000 miles in the canoe. That's all the way around the world. This is the book by John C. Bois. And I just showed you about Thor Heyerdahl. I even just tapped into W.E.B. Du Bois, who led to all of this. But people associate the man with being a sellout. I know the evidence is factual that he bringing. Maybe some words are triggering. The word Africa has become a trigger word. But it's also his opinion, and he's entitled to that. And he just knows that they're the same. They're all Negroes. And this is his scientific stance to explain the Negroes that you see in America, so it don't get confused. People want to confuse it. Oh no, that's also in America. No. The Negro is also in America. That's why you see these customs, these linguistics, all of these things that are too synonymous with one another, right? But it's all love. I appreciate y'all. It's been real.